Hello, and welcome to the very first album review to ever be put up on the internet. There are no others. No others exist. So, since this is my first review video that I'm putting up on this channel, I decided to wait for a certain album to come out. I was like pushing this back until like the right album would come, and I feel like this is a good first video to make for this specific album because it's about a band that nobody has a strong opinion about. Nobody has ever had a strong opinion about this band. Nobody has ever disagreed with each other about any of the music that this band has ever made. Now, the band that we're discussing today, in case you couldn't read the title, is Weezer, and their new album is Spring. It's the first part of their 4 EP part project Seasons. They're putting out an album on the first day of every season of the year 2022. And this is the first of those 4 parts. Later we'll call it summer, then fall, then winter. Why am I explaining seasons too? Now, when discussing Weezer, I feel like a lot of the times your opinion on the album you're discussing is very much influenced on your opinion on all their other albums. Because nobody agrees 100% with each other on their discography. Like, you can agree that, oh, this album is good. You can both agree on that, but there's like very little chance you'll agree on every single album on if it's good or not. Which is why I feel like I should list down, like, give a one-word review of all 15 albums before this one, before I continue. So, Blue Album, amazing. Pinkerton, amazing. Green, good. Maladroit, great. Make Believe, bad. Red, great. Ratitude, bad. Oh my god. Hurley, good. Everything Will Be Alright in the End. Their best album, and I dare you to disagree. White Album, amazing. Pacific Daydream, good. The Teal Album, mid. The Black Album, bad. Okay Human, amazing. And Van Weezer, great. And now we're up to speed. Now, with this whole Seasons project, it had me kind of anticipated. It had me anticipated for the thing as a whole, and it had me kind of anticipated for certain seasons because of the way that Rivers and the rest of the band had hyped up what vibe each season was going to go for. In case you haven't seen, Spring is supposed to be a lot more cheerful type rock music, and now that we have it, we can see that, like, genre-wise, it's a lot more folk rock, very folkloric type rock. And when I heard that description, I thought that it was the same way that Okay Human was like chamber rock or orchestral rock, or like it was the orchestra but no electric guitars. But thankfully this album actually does have electric guitars, and I think that they do blend in very well with the rest of the instrumentals. It is very well mixed and produced, this album. Like, this sounds like what rock music sounds like in heaven. That's the best way I can put it. And the other seasons are Summer, which has been described to be the more conventional Weezer type record, a lot more like White Album or Pacific Daydreamy. Then there's Fall, which is supposed to be like Weezer's take on garage rock, Franz Ferdinand, The Strokes, like those types of bands. And no, that description has me very much curious. Like, what was it going to sound like? And then there's Winter, which is going to be like sad acoustic guitar-y type music. And like all these other albums, when I heard the descriptions for all of them, I thought the other ones were going to be great. I was hesitant on Spring, which is going to be the first one. Like, that description had me a bit worried, because one of the other ways that it was described was that, oh, it's going to be a full album of just Island in the Sun. And I love me some Island in the Sun, but like, that style for a full album, I was like, is it going to be like, is it going to get old? Because like, I don't think that you can have that feeling for an entire album. They did. They pulled it off, and I commend them for that, yeah. As for the lyrical side of this record, it is very much not anchored onto the stories that they're trying to tell. It is very clear that in the writing, they're focusing a lot more on the emotions and barely anything on the story, which I get how some people might have a problem with it, but I don't, especially considering that the way that they nail down the emotions that they're going for, of just like pure joy and just like the pure bliss and euphoria that is like Spring. I feel like they pull it off very well. Like, yeah, sometimes it can be cheesy, like kind of cheesy, but when is Weezer not cheesy? The only time I ever don't like cheesy is when it gets cringy, which thankfully I don't think that any of the lyrics on this album ever come across as cringy. There's no moment in here where I just like, why'd you say that, Rivers? Why'd you write that down? Basically what I'm trying to say is that this album doesn't have a pump it up into me, please daddy moment. It doesn't have any you are my baby and I'm your daddy. It doesn't have any crab at the booty moments. Where's my coming back to the emotions part of all the lyrics? I usually feel that with Weezer lyrics, even though they do tell a story, they tell it in such a way that what matters most is the emotions themselves. What is Rivers feeling in the moment, rather than the moment itself? And that is kind of the appeal for me when it comes to Weezer's lyrics, which is why this album specifically is very interesting to me, because it is almost purely emotion. If there is a story, it is very loose, and it barely even matters, because a lot of these lyrics for a lot of these songs can just fit into any story. Like, all that matters is that, like, it's just life is going your way. And again, like, people forget how hard it is to write lyrics that are happy and have them not be cringy. That's a really hard thing to do. And I think that this album very much pulled it off. Again, I feel like a lot of these songs are going to be too corny for some people, but it's good enough for me. It's a very sweet album, in my opinion. As for a rating for this album, I decided to not really give one, because I don't feel like I'm getting the full picture. Again, this is part 1 of 4. So I'd rather give a rating once all 4 parts are out and grade them all as 1. This feels a lot more appropriate for me, in my opinion. As for favorites from this album, I would say that some of my favorites out of the album would be Angels on Vacation. I feel like that is the more dynamic song out of the whole bunch. I really like the dynamic change that it brings to the bridge, and how, like, it just gets dark all of a sudden before it gets back to the cheerfulness that it was in the beginning, making that feeling feel a lot stronger. And then there's A Little Bit of Love, which is the single that came out before the album, and it's just a really sweet love song, which Rivers just has a knack for. Besides that, another one of my favorite songs would be the closer, Wild at Heart. I feel like it is a great way to end the album, and the last few seconds of it have me really intrigued if they're going to do, like, a transition from this last track from spring into the first track of summer. I feel like that would be the coolest thing, if, like, you can listen to both of those songs back to back and they just blend in together. That would be so awesome, and that would make this whole theme of, like, seasons going a lot better, in my opinion. As for if I recommend the album, I'd say that if you're a fan of Green and would like to hear Green if it were, I don't know, in Lord of the Rings or some shit like that, I'd recommend this album. Anyway, yeah, that's the end of the video. Bye.